is John Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today another exciting episode for you. I'm coming at you here from South Florida, and let me tell you guys, it's a chilly day here in South Florida. It's like in the low 60s here in the winter. I guess all you guys are still in snow and stuff, but 60 degrees, you're probably saying, John, that's not cold. Well, it's cold for down here. In any case, what I thought I'd share with you guys today is a farm that I'm at. No, it's not the one behind me. And this is what you might think of as a farm when you think, oh yeah, the farm grows vegetables that show up in my grocery store. And actually, most of the vegetables that are grown in grocery stores and sold there are grown pretty much like this, as you guys are seeing behind me. It's basically just a field that's plowed with a tractor, and then they lay down seed, and in this case, they're growing some beans, probably some string beans, and the plants are planted out every 3 inches next to each other all the way down, and as you guys can see, it's like just a patch of green and probably just shot up within the last week or two at the most. And in this area here, it doesn't really matter what the soil is like, because as long as the soil will hold the roots, that's all the farmer needs doing a conventional agriculture style system, because what they rely on are these little fertilizer pellets. I'm seeing them on the ground there. They're multicolor actually, and this is the chemically made fertilizer from a factory, made out of natural gas products or other petroleum based products, and it's put into a water soluble format, so then when they add it to the ground, the water, and they have a big watering machine the other side of me, waters them in, they basically melt, and then the water soluble nutrients go down to the root zone. They feed the nutrients to the root zone, and then the plants grow. And this is what is known as, modern agriculture. Now, unfortunately, this is not how nature works. So I'm not going to show you guys like the fields here, because it's pretty boring, huh? It's just a field of just green beans. Next, what I want to do is actually maybe spin the camera around and show you guys like another way they're growing food right behind me, which is a little bit different. All right. So now we're gonna go on a nice spin with me. All right, we're spinning around. Yeah, spin around. All right, so here's this big watering rig. This field looks like it got planted out a little bit after the field that you guys just saw. And we're gonna spin all the way around over to this side. All right, on this side over here, what we're looking at is a fruit tree orchard. So if you're thinking about how do those fruits get in the grocery store that's appearing in your store near you, it's pretty much grown in an orchard-like situation like the one behind me. About every 20 feet or 30 feet, depending on the kind of fruit tree. You got one tree, then you got the next tree, and then you got the next tree all the way down. They're like all symmetrical, kind of like many cities have city blocks that are all symmetrical. And they're just all the way down like a grid system. And then in between the trees, they could get the machinery in between there nice and easily. And it's pretty much nicely manicured, neat, tidy, and orderly. Much like the field behind me, you don't see grass and you don't see weeds, and all you see is just the green beans, and they may be using herbicides so that weeds don't come up. And same thing with the orchard. They may be using things like herbicides and chemical sprays and also chemical fertilizers to provide nutrition and keep the weeds down, because the weeds compete with the trees, which is the main investment, so that they can grow the fruit. In this case, it's probably like the lychee fruit, or maybe long-on fruit. But nonetheless, this is how traditional agriculture is done. They just basically feed water-soluble nutrients and then use all kind of herbicides and pesticides and fungicides and things that are just not good for the soil environment or for our health. I mean, most pesticides, just on the drive here, I saw people fully suited up in like the white Tyvek and the respirators and all this stuff, because they're spraying toxic things that have warning signs on them. And yeah, of course, if you're spraying them in large doses, you don't want to be breathing that stuff, but even in smaller doses, they can bioaccumulate inside a person. So for that reason, and many others, I actually don't necessarily recommend eating conventional produce unless that's the only thing and the best thing you got, right? I always want to encourage you guys to do good, better, best. And as much as the farming system right now is maybe not set up in the most sustainable manner, it's what we got. And I would much rather have you guys eat conventionally grown produce than packaged Snickers, Twinkies, Ding Dongs, Ho-Hos, Coca-Cola, anything in a package, right? Produce is always better. But I'm here today to show you guys a better way than just, farming vegetables in roads, plowing and tilling the land, which ruins the soil structure, ruins the microbes in the soil, and then you gotta, get on a program that gets you dependent on the chemicals, right? It's like called chemical dependency for those of you guys that have some kind of, or have friends that are alcoholics or into drugs, and they always need their fix of cocaine. Well, these plants and the plants in successive fields, either in the fields of beans in front of me or the orchard behind me, they're dependent on chemicals because the microbiome in the soil does not support, you know, feeding them organic nutrients because all the microbiome and the organic matter is wiped out. And this is maybe one of the reasons why people get dependent on their, you know, substance abuses and whatnot, because their body's not used to living life and being vibrant and happy without it. So next, we're going to show you guys a solution today, and that is actually an awesome permaculture food forest system that actually started out just like the one you guys see behind me, but that was like 20 years ago now. They took a system that was failing, not working so well, and they converted that into a living, breathing, organic, natural, recycled, sustainable, regenerative agriculture system. So let's go ahead and head to the farm. Actually, it's just right over here, right next door. You guys can see it's just mass abundance. I mean, it's not neat and tidy like these fields here. Nature's, man, is abundant, and there's just all kinds of stuff growing in this farm next door. So let me go ahead and introduce you to the farm we're at today. So the permaculture farm I'm at today is called Guara Ki Eco Farm, and this is a regenerative permaculture farm dedicated to earth care, people care, and creating abundance. You know, unlike the other farm that I just showed you just across the street and next door, literally, you know, this is actually regenerating the earth instead of degenerating the earth, right? So I want you guys to do things in your life that are, you know, going to regenerate you instead of degenerate you. And it's sad to me that, you know, a lot of things, people just kind of look at the bottom line and the financials, and if it makes financial sense, you're going to make a profit. You'll do whatever it takes to make a profit, and you won't care about these things, right? Earth care, people care, and creating abundance. And it's very important to think towards the future and future generations aside from just your generation now to make a buck farming the way that it's been done so that you can be profitable. I mean, take some other factors into consideration, you know, like paying your workers well, like, you know, regenerating and making the earth a better place for future generations instead of raping and pillaging the resources of the earth today. So in any case, let's go ahead and show you guys this. I think it's a 3-acre permaculture farm, and show you guys how they are growing things differently and how I would probably grow things here in South Florida. So this is the kind of farm that I like to walk into. I mean, it literally looks like a public park you'd go to that just has a forest and it's just full of all kinds of stuff, you know? I mean, this originally, what it was an orchard of things like mamey and lychee trees, predominantly maybe some sugar apple trees as well, but predominantly those couple trees. And those were planted out, you know, with the proper spacing, every 30 feet or whatever they are. And then what they did 20 years ago now was start to basically, you know, take out some of those trees, plant out the borders, make areas for vegetable gardens, you know, plant crops below the fruit trees so they could be more productive, you know, start up a little plant nursery to grow and propagate some of the different, you know, fruit trees and other vegetables that are growing here, you know, building structures and places to live, and compost toilets and solar powered showers, and man, there is so much stuff going on here. It's just really cool. I mean, this is, I think, the future of farming. Now the problem is, you know, for something like this to happen, you know, it's not focused on the production and making a buck, right? This is a non-profit organization that runs this farm, so their goal is not to necessarily sell and be super productive, which they, you know, could dial it in further. But, you know, frankly, they get woofers, and if you're interested in woofing, you could come down to the farm and woof and volunteer and check out this amazing place and work here and learn. But their main purpose is to educate people about how to do it differently and to teach people solutions instead of create more problems, like, in my opinion, they're doing, you know, across the street. I mean, I just heard a thing on the drive here, how, you know, local farms using, you know, water-soluble fertilizers are running off into Lake Okeechobee, and now they're having to deal with algae blooms that are not normal because of all the excess fertilizer wastewater runoff. traditional fertilizers, you know, run off and then they cause problems because they go somewhere else. Only a small percentage of the water-soluble fertilizers put on soil will stay in there and actually feed the plant. The rest is not needed. But in a system like this, when they're using 100% organic matter and non-water soluble fertilizers, it all stays on the site, breaks down, and feeds the intended trees and vegetables and crops on the land instead of running away and, you know, causing environmental impacts, negative environmental impacts in other places. So anyways, let's go ahead and show you guys some of the specific areas and some of the crops they're growing and some of the unique structures they have here on the farm. All right, so walking in the farm, you'll be immediately greeted with this building. And this building has a composting toilet on one side, and on the other side, 100% off the grid, solar powered water catchment shower. So you can see on the roof, they got gutters, and the gutters, one on each side, run to these big 55-gallon drums. And these drums collect the water, and then as needed, the pump, which is hand operated, pumps the water into those tubes in the wall, which go to the shower. And the hot water actually comes up from above, and up at the top they have like a solar collector in there, and that basically heats up the cold water, makes it hot, so that even a family of 5 could take short showers in the shower and still have hot water without the use of any electricity or natural gas. Let's see here. Oh, let's go ahead and continue and show you guys some other cool things here at the farm, including the mainstay, some of the fruit trees. All right, so let's walk down this little pathway here and show you guys what we got down here. So this tree here is one of the existing trees that was here 20 years ago, and this is called a mamey sapote tree. And you guys could see it was flowering, and the little fruits are starting to develop there along the trunk of the tree. And if you look up very carefully, here's one of the fruits right there. These guys are gonna get a lot larger. This is a mamey sapote fruit. When these are soft, there's a whole bunch more you guys could spot in the background. These guys are soft, they're ready to eat, and you could open them up and they literally taste like pumpkin pie. They're completely amazing, and they blow away apples, oranges, bananas, pears, any common fruit that we normally get. You got to try some mamey sapote if you've never had it before. And then yeah, these are some lychee trees here that you guys see, quite big. They're not actually currently fruiting at this time. Down below, you guys will see that, you know, it's just not all wiped out or Roundup readied or, you know, glyphosate sprayed. There's basically just, you know, weeds growing. And in an ideal situation, they'd have enough mulch to just mulch over all the weeds and continue to add mulch to keep the weeds and suppress the weeds, and also feed the earth the nutrients from the mulch. I mean, that is really the fertilizer for trees, in my opinion, is other trees. So when the leaves drop off these trees here, they land on the ground, they break down into mulch, they turn into soil, and they give the nutrients back to the soil. You know, and that's how this whole system works, by recycling nutrients the whole time. I mean, they got some really beautiful, nice and tall mamey sapote trees, as well as lychee trees. Oh, and there's some big mameys down there. Citrus, and they got all kinds of stuff coming up. Next, let's go ahead and show you guys their propagation area, which was their greenhouse area. They just took it down. They're actually going to grow some moringa trees and then bend them into hoops over the nursery area. They have all kinds of different plants starting to use in different projects, all growing little babies. And let's see. Oh, I want to take you guys over to this side. Now, you know, there's a lot of space here, and they have very little manpower at this time. So there's so many projects, and I mean, even in my home garden, I'm never done with projects and working in the garden. So let me guys go ahead and show you guys an area that they haven't yet worked on because they don't have the manpower, and what's growing and what we can learn from this. All right, so here's one of the garden areas over to the right here. It's supposed to be a circular garden, but it's basically just all overgrown. But yet they still have some things like this guy right here. This is known as a Seminole pumpkin. So this is the pumpkin I recommend you guys grow if you're here in South Florida or even in Florida. This is the kind of pumpkin that the Seminole Indians grew way back when, and it's native to this area. It'll grow really well. In addition, they have a chicken tractor, and I think the chickens are scared of me because they're all running away even though they're in their cage protected. And they basically just move this tractor that's on wheels to to let them eat the bugs and eat up the grass and whatnot. Actually, they're just in this area here, which they've cleared. So this is their weed control. I've also seen other farms use things like goats and other things to clear the land and also create and bring more fertility to the land as well. All right, headed over to this side of the farm at the fence line. This was basically a garden area. It's pretty much overgrown right now. But if you look closely, like this plant right here is a yocone, one of my favorite edible tubers you could eat raw. It's also known as earth apple, very high in inulin or FOS, which feeds your beneficial bacteria in your guts. In addition, they have edible hibiscus here that looks like it's doing well when it's not even being tended to. So I mean, these are the kind of crops that I want you guys to grow here in South Florida if you have your own place, because even in this side of the farm that's unattended, that hasn't been weeded, these guys were planted over a year ago and they're still just growing on their own, making food, setting flowers, setting seeds, and it's just abundant. I mean, so this is, in my opinion, the heart of permaculture, right? Planting perennial plants that will grow whether you are there or not. Moving right along, other areas of the garden, they got different kinds of beans, and I want to show you guys this right here. These are some wing beans they grew. Once again, they were from last year, and they're still growing despite, not being tended to. So yeah, it's these kind of more resilient crops are very important to grow in South Florida, and you guys are actually matching the crop with your climate instead of trying to grow crops that wouldn't normally grow in your climate. This is very important and very critical. That's one of the things that I really love about the farm here. They're really trying to grow things that'll do well here. I mean, they're not trying to grow things like lettuce. All right, so here's just a nice open area of the farm. Some of the areas they actually haven't fully developed yet. They've just left the trees, and this section had the lychee trees that they haven't really done anything with the understory except let the trees drop all their leaves, and guess what? These leaves act as mulch. They conserve the moisture in the soil, and actually they build fertility. Most farms want to rake up the leaves and get rid of them, and even most home gardens, they want to rake up the leaves and get rid of them. But leaves are one of the most important resources you guys have at your home or on your farm. You should definitely compost them in place or minimally throw them in your compost pile. So yet another way they're using the established fruit trees here are to use the shade that is created below them for baby plants. So they have, nursery plants of things like dragon fruit and Nepalese cactus and ferns and other things underneath the trees so that they can, grow in peace and not get too much sun and be protected. And when they're ready, they'll get moved out. Oh, and then I want to go ahead and show you guys this setup right here. So what we're looking at here is one of those big produce crates that actually you'll go to a produce store sometimes and you'll see like all the produce, watermelons or whatever being shipped in these guys, and they've gotten one of these guys that looks like it's probably damaged. That's why maybe the store, supermarket, whatever was getting rid of it, and they just filled it with dirt, and then they're growing. Actually, they got some papaya plants in there growing some papaya fruit. Now, I've often thought that these would be perfect to grow a little raised bed in because it's actually at the right height, and you just have to maybe put a liner in it because all the dirt would come out the little holes in the edge. So I'd probably use something like a coconut core fiber or some hemp fiber or even just some jute fiber to line that, and then fill with dirt, and then or good compost and then grow that into some awesome vegetables, or like you're doing here, some fruit trees. And then if you move, you could easily pick this up with a forklift and take it with you. All right, here's another area of the farm. It's nice and shaded under the canopy of all these mature fruit trees. And what we're looking at now is just a big pile of branches, brush. The goal for this stuff is they're probably gonna do some kind of hugelkulture, and make use of all the wood here. All right, so what they got over here, some nice worm bins. This guy looks nice and long. They're using about half of it right now that is currently covered. Another section is actually uncovered, so that's cool. Number one, they built it up on some blocks to get it off the ground, and then what they're using is the concrete backing board or wonder board and some 1x2 framing on the inside. And this basically makes their worm bins. This one's not being used right now, it just has the leaves. But on the other side, they have a nice cover over it for protection from birds, because birds will eat your worms, and other creatures. And also, it's going to keep a nice environment for the worms, which they feed the food scraps and compost. In addition, other ways you could have worm bins, or even just in like an old garbage can, or maybe they'll even use this old sink, to put worms and put some wood over it as a cover. There's many things you can do to keep worms, and I do encourage you guys to do that. All right, next we're going to go ahead and visit their vegetable garden. This is the section I'm most excited about sharing with you guys today. So behind me, we're looking at their vegetable garden, and this is where the current woofers have been actually putting in the most amount of time for the last several months to get this up and running. And it actually looks quite good. They're kind of just basically got some raised beds, or just mounded up soil. It's raised beds without the sides, and they're growing lots of different vegetables as well as fruits. So I thought I'd take you around and show you guys some of the vegetables and herbs that they're growing here, and actually more importantly explain why they're growing those specific plants. So now I'm sitting in the garden here, and as you guys can see, they got basically raised beds. They're probably about, 2-3 feet wide, and 16 feet long. And they have some beautiful looking red Russian kale greens, as well as some cabbage over on this side. And on this side, they actually got a lot more red Russian kale. So in the cool season here in South Florida, these are what is growing well. Now these are annual crops, and I definitely always encourage you guys, especially to have annual crops, but also grow the perennial crops. These are the crops that do well here in South Florida at this time. Another one of my favorites, they got them over there, are actually the Georgia collard greens. In addition, on the end of the rows here, looks like they got some yacon that is also growing. And yeah, I want to encourage you guys to grow crops that make sense, that you don't have to fight nature with. I mean, this is all organic here. They don't spray anything or anything, and these plants look amazing using the compost they're growing them in. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take you guys over a couple rows to some of the favorite herbs that they're growing here that actually grows really easily. So over in this area of the garden, they have things like the cilantro going all the way down that row, up this little trellis fencing thing they got. They got some tomato plants that are going to grow up, as well as some Malabar spinach. And then over on this side, they got bull's blood beets. Those are like the dark, super dark beets. I want to encourage you guys to grow and eat some beets. They're actually quite good for us. In any case, they got a lot more stuff growing, so maybe I'll just go ahead and hand can the camera and take you through a walkthrough, which is really nice here. One of the things I want to point out is on the ground, they're basically using just the banana stalks as the mulch to create pathways to reduce the mud, and also actually it looks kind of nice, and it also will break down and feed the soil below it instead of just leaving it all barren, or even worse, spraying it with something like glyphosate or Roundup, which actually locks up the trace minerals in the soil so the plants can't get them, and it's harmful to the things you're spraying them on, as well as the overspray and the drift could be also very bad in my opinion. So I want to show you guys the rest of the garden here. I mean, I gotta say, this looks just really nice using the dried up bananas for the pathways and the mulch. Just looks really clean. These are all planted at really good spacing. They filled in really nicely, and yeah, all kinds of cool stuff. They got kale here, they got more beets and cilantro over there. Coming over to this side, they got probably one of the best peppers I've tasted in a while. I don't exactly know the variety, but I'll put a link in the description below what variety it is. But they really taste kind of like fruity and delicious. A little bit hot, but not that much hot. And just so good. And look, as you guys can see if you look closely, this plant is super abundant. in this system. Yeah, doing really well. Of course, the kale and the beets. I want to encourage you guys to eat kale as well as other leafy greens. My goal every day is to eat 2 pounds of leafy greens each day. And if you're saying, John, man, that's a lot of leafy greens to eat. Well, I like to usually just like maybe juice 1 pound of greens, and that turns into 1 cup of juice. So the juicer really allows you to maximize, you know, the amount of greens you're able to eat. And then over here we got the flat leaf parsley, as well as we got some tomatoes that they'll be hooking up against the wire trellis there. And look at this. This is just mass abundance of just parsley grown. And you know, as much as they're growing like a row of parsley, it's not just a whole field of parsley. As you guys can see, they got fig trees here next to the underneath the figs as an understory. They got things like beets, and then on the other side they got peppers, and then more the fig trees, and then they got the taller mamesa potato trees, and then over there they got, you know, star apple or sugar apple trees, and then over on the far side over there, the whole way down, they got all kinds of bananas growing. There's more of the edible hibiscus all the way over there with the little flowers going to seed. So as you guys are noticing, they're just not growing 1 crop or 2 crops. They have a whole symbiosis of all kinds of crops: leafy greens, perennials, annuals, fruit trees, small fruit trees, big fruit trees that aren't even really trees, as well as they have bees that are going to help the pollination. So, you know, this is not just simply a monoculture growing 1 kind of vegetable or 1 kind of fruit like some of the surrounding farms. It has a diversity of different crops. And this is very important in new, in my opinion, modern agriculture, to really get back to bringing diversity in. Because if you look in nature, in forests, there's usually just not 1 kind of tree growing or 1 kind of vegetable growing. There's all different kinds, because all these different plants work in conjunction and grow in conjunction with each other in harmony, like all the people on the earth should be getting along. But plants, let me tell you, they don't fight back. Any case, let me go ahead and show you guys now the perennial gardens that are actually just set amongst some of the fruit trees here. And these are some of my favorite vegetables that you guys will definitely want to grow here in South Florida, that are just going to produce year-round without you guys even doing anything. And that's my kind of garden, the lazy man's garden. So in this area of the garden, they have one of my favorite perennial leafy green vegetables that are perfect for growing in the subtropics or tropics. And this is actually known as the Okinawan spinach. This is a nice little raised bed, I don't know, 3 feet wide by about, I don't know, 10 feet long. And they have this planting here, as well as another nice row of Okinawan spinach planted all the way down. Now these guys are really cool because it doesn't frost here. These guys will grow year round. And yeah, I mean, this is the kind of vegetables that people need to grow. Now one of the sad things is, I think, is that most people, you know, may get educated about growing, you know, Okinawan spinach from my videos, but then they have no recipes to put them in. So the way I would use these guys are just like any other leafy green from my garden, whether that is kale, collard greens, you know, arugula, endive, escarole, dandelion greens. I would simply juice them or blend them or add them to salads. Now some of you guys might not want to eat an Okinawan spinach salad made of, you know, all Okinawan spinach leaves, but what you could do is you could take some more milder greens. I don't know, say you grew in lettuce, you could take some lettuce, 75% of your bowl is lettuce greens, and then 25% Okinawan spinach, and blend them together or mix them together in your bowl and eat that kind of salad. So you're getting, you know, a lot of lettuce that you're used to and familiar with, and then also a lot of the newer greens that you may not be familiar with, because the flavor might be a little bit stronger than what you're used to. And slowly but surely, you know, get away from eating the lettuce and increase the percentages of the Okinawan spinach until you're just eating straight Okinawan spinach salads. You know, I think one of the big challenges with the perennial vegetables is that if you grow it, people don't generally harvest it because, you know, they weren't from 5 years old eating Okinawan spinach. It's a whole new food that you guys now have to incorporate into your cuisine. And this is very important because, you know, with the current agriculture system, you could get basically any food any time of the year at your local grocery store. So we're used to eating certain foods, and we need to expand our repertoire of foods and start using those foods in the recipes that you create for you and your family, so that we could all be healthier and also live more sustainably instead of eating all this out of season produce like is being done today. So the next perennial vegetable I want to share with you guys today is this guy right behind me here, and it's actually really taking over nicely. I mean, they're just growing it amongst the fruit trees here, whether they're the lychee or avocado tree, or also this papaya that's growing right up. You guys are just seeing the trunk, and it goes all the way up. There's little baby papayas up there, and this is just acting literally as a ground cover. This guy is actually called the Janira procumbens, or longevity spinach, and this is another really good perennial vegetable to grow. I grow this year-round in Las Vegas. In the summertime, I plant it out in the garden. In the wintertime, I dig it up and bring it into my unheated greenhouse. So this is something all you guys could do with these perennial plants that don't live in a subtropical zone 10 climate like I'm in here, where this just will basically take off and grow year-round. So why fight having to grow things like lettuce when you could have things like the Okinawan spinach on this side and the longevity spinach over on this side? And let me tell you, longevity spinach, in my opinion, is a lot more nutritious than standard lettuce. One of the things they're trying to do here with the permaculture farm is not just grow, a few crops. Like I've said, they're trying to grow all different kinds of edible food crops and experiment and learn and grow with them. So one of the ones that they're growing in the background there is the sugar cane. Sugar cane is actually absolutely my favorite grass to grow and to eat. I like to juice the sugar cane that I grow myself. And yeah, I mean, the grass family can grow and uptake up to 90 different trace minerals from the soil. So then you get them in you, and people think, oh, John, sugar cane juice, that's so much sugar. Well, orange juice has more sugar than the sugar cane juice, but the sugar cane juice is mostly water. Plus, there's a lot of phytochemicals and phytonutrients that are beneficial for us that they've done a lot of research on. So yeah, drink some sugarcane juice, because I guarantee it's way better than drinking a pop or a soda from the store. So another fruit they're growing here is a fruit that is commonly available at a supermarket near you. Unfortunately, they're just not as good as they could be, because the commercial pineapples are usually just one variety, maybe a smooth cayenne variety. Oh, there's another couple other varieties, maybe like the ones from Hawaii, the gold variety. But here they're probably growing a white sugar pine variety, and these are nice and small little babies. So I'm glad they have a nice little pineapple patch. And the pineapple patch is planted right below the papaya trees. So the pineapples could do with a little less sun, and the papayas don't make a lot of shade, and looks like they're doing beautifully. The last part of this episode I'd like to do is actually share with you guys the bunker here, and it's actually quite kind of fun, because it's something that I've never really seen before. It's like a subterranean, well, not really subterranean, but it's insulated with soil shipping containers that are being made into the places where the woofers stay, as well as they will soon be offering them up on Airbnb. So you could actually come to this very farm that I toured you guys around today and stay if you're on vacation here in South Florida, and learn how a real permaculture farm works. So the next area I want to show you guys is a kind of a neat area of the farm that I never really kind of seen on another permaculture farm. It's actually, they're using just big shipping containers. I think they have probably like 8 of them, and these are interconnected and welded in maybe in a shape of an 8. They got 2 going down the side, and then they got aisleways going in, and they're all welded together and sealed. And actually, if you look to the side, I'm covering it up here, but if you look to the side there, they basically just mounted up the soil all the way to the edges, so it actually will stay cooler in the summer and warmer in the winter doing this. And also on the top, I don't know if you guys can see that, but they got a water catchment on the top that they're catching the water. And then furthermore, they're growing up the banks on the sides with all kind of edible crops. I saw some pumpkins up there, some old pumpkins. And on the top, they basically, to keep the heat off, they basically use sandbags full of something like the perlite or vermiculite, but unfortunately they use plastic style sandbags, and they broke down over time, so now they're all leaking. So if you're going to do this, you might want to use the perlite that has something else filled. They are light, things also grow in them, but so they're not weighing down the top too much, although these shipping containers are meant to be stacked, and I've seen even stacked houses of shipping containers before. But yeah, so yeah, it's just kind of like built into the earth. So I want to go ahead and take you through the doors and show you guys just one of the guest rooms that are not yet completed for what they're going to be offering on Airbnb really soon. And I'll put a link down below this video if you guys want to stay on a permaculture farm in a shipping container on your vacation in South Florida. All right, so let's head inside the bunker. They got this screen door, and then they got another door, and we're headed inside. All right, here's what it looks like inside the containers. Of course, they have air conditioning because it could probably get pretty hot in here. They got couches to hang out on and a little kitchen. But this is one of the bedrooms over here. Let's see if we can get a light on for you guys. And freshly painted in here, and it's basically just going to be set up with a bed and a couch. And this is where you could stay. It has a nice carpet on the ground. These are, I think, 20 feet long and about 8 or so feet wide. So yeah, nice little bed and place to stay on a permaculture farm while you're on vacation. All right, so the last part of this episode today, I thought I'd share this with you guys. Basically what they got is they got all these cinder blocks, you know, made into a rectangle, and they basically got some plastic sheeting put over the top to make a little trough. So they could use this for something like aquaponics. They could use it to collect rainwater. They could also use it for something like I've done like this before, is to use my product called Eco Wood to basically make a bath of Eco Wood solution and then dunk in your wood that will preserve it without the use of chemicals. So check below for my video on the Eco Wood. But yeah, I thought this was really cool because I mean, I've always thought about this, but I've never seen anybody actually have this system set up. I mean, obviously, if you want it to last a longer time, you wouldn't use the plastic sheeting. You'd use something like a pond liner that would last significantly longer. You know, it's getting a little bit dark, and I've showed you guys most of the farm. There's other areas that I just didn't get to today because it's kind of getting late and I got to get running. So if you guys want to learn more about the farm that I visited today, be sure to check the link right down below to go to their nonprofit website to learn about the farm. They do have woofing opportunities available for people that are wanting to learn and work here on the farm. Also, be sure to check out the Airbnb link I will put below when that is up and online. If it's not appearing down below this video, then they're not yet ready, to have visitors yet. But hopefully they will be doing that soon. That's one of their top goals at this time. They also do teach classes, permaculture classes, and have courses here at the farm. Once again, check down below for the link to the website for that information as well. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please give me a thumbs up to let me know. I'll be sure to come back to this amazing permaculture food forest farm in the future when I'm visiting South Florida. Also, be sure to check my past episodes. I have over 1,100 episodes now, teaching you guys all aspects and showing you guys what is possible by using regenerative agriculture and growing your own food at your house, even if you're not putting in a whole permaculture setup like they did here. And also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below. I'm still going to be here in Florida for the next couple days, and I'm going to be making a whole bunch of more videos at different farms and places I'm visiting, and you never know where I'm going to show up or what you guys will learn. So click the subscribe button, and you'll be notified of my new and upcoming episodes I have coming out about every 3 to 4 days. So once again, my name is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing. All right, this is John Kohler with growingyourgreens.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and I'm here still on my vacation in South Florida, and today I'm actually in downtown inner city Miami. You can see the freeway running behind me.